Part of mastering Visualize is being comfortable with the interface, knowing where to find tools when you need them, and knowing what options are available to you. In Visualize, there are four main sections of the interface: the viewport, which is the main working area, the main toolbar, where the most frequently used tools are, the palette, where all the settings for the project are stored and modified, and the heads-up display, which provides quick access to information. In this lesson, I'll go over each of these sections, as well as the home screen, to get you comfortable working in Visualize. I'll be using the professional version of Visualize for this lesson, so while there will be a few options here that aren't in the standard version, the overall workflow and general tools will be the same for both versions. The home screen shown here is the opening screen of Visualize and has a few options for starting a project. I can start a new project, open an existing one from the browser, or use the list of recent projects here to quickly access something I've been working on. I can remove the project from the list without deleting the actual project by clicking the red X here. For this project, I'll open the included 1969 Camaro project. Note that depending on the size of the project, this process can take a few seconds or a few minutes. With the project open, there are four main areas that I'll go over: the viewport, main toolbar, palette, and the heads-up display. The viewport is the main working area and where the model will be positioned and manipulated. What is shown in the viewport is exactly what will be produced when creating an output. Think of Visualize as a virtual photo studio and the viewport as the view through the camera lens. By adjusting the camera, I then adjust what is seen in the viewport. To change the size of the viewport, I'll go to the Tools drop-down and select Options. Under the 3D Viewport tab, I can change the maximum resolution to change the viewport size. And when I click OK, the viewport updates to the new size. Across the top of the screen is the main toolbar. Here I have the configuration options, render selection options, turntable, selection tools, object manipulation tools, camera tools, and output options. Most of these will be covered in depth in later lessons, but I do want to dive into the render selection options, selection tools, and camera tools. Visualize has three render modes that can be switched between. Preview mode enables high-performance, interactive, noise-free rendering and is best used when initially setting up a render, creating an animation, or performing real-time interactive presentations. Fast mode enables visually accurate ray tracing for the fastest time to quality rendering. This option is great for hard objects without complex transparencies, such as this car. Fast mode automatically stops rendering after 100 passes and produces a high-quality render in the shortest amount of time. The mode with the highest level of realism, accurate mode, enables scientifically accurate path tracing for the most precise rendering. It will render infinitely and produces the highest photo quality results. Fully enclosed interior spaces and scenes with complex light behavior are best viewed in accurate mode. The next set of options is only available when in fast or accurate mode and improves interactivity, so I'll switch back to fast mode. Steady mode doesn't use any acceleration technique, and so when the model is moved with steady active, it will maintain the render quality selected. If blended is active, the model will switch to preview mode when making adjustments, and downscaled reduces the image resolution when moving for the best interactivity. The selection tools are fairly straightforward and determine what is selected when clicking in the viewport. For example, with the blue part selection tool active, when I click on the model, a blue outline appears outlining all the edges of the selected part. The colored outlines will help identify what is selected, which is very helpful when animating or working with appearances. With the camera tools, I can rotate, pan, zoom, twist, and change the look-at point of the camera. Activating the tool changes the cursor, and since the viewport is a reflection of what the camera sees, these camera tools adjust the model's composition in the viewport. Each of these tools are linked to a hotkey combination of Alt and mouse buttons that I would recommend learning since you'll be manipulating the camera frequently. Alt and left mouse click rotates the camera, Alt and right-click zooms in and out. Alt and the middle mouse button pans the camera, and holding Alt while scrolling will change the focal length of the camera. If you forget these, all the Visualize hotkeys can be found in the Help menu and are listed next to the option in the drop-down menus in blue text. The palette on the right is where all the fine adjustments are made, and it can pop out or be expanded once locked in place. The Models tab stores all the model, part, and grouping data and is used to change model visibility and make sure the model is on the floor of the environment. The Appearances tab stores all the appearances that have been added to the project, and by selecting an appearance, I can easily change its settings. The Scenes tab stores all the lighting elements in a project. Environments provide the majority of the lighting and reflections, and the active environment will have a check mark next to it. The yellow outline identifies which environment settings are currently showing and can be adjusted. The Cameras tab stores all of the cameras, and since the viewport is simply what the camera sees, switching cameras will change the composition in the viewport. The aspect ratio is stored camera to camera, so switching to a camera with a different aspect ratio will change the proportion, though not the final resolution, of the viewport. I can also enable depth of field, bloom, and post-processing options. The Libraries tab isn't linked to anything in the project. Instead, it stores all the models, projects, appearances, scenes, and cameras that have been saved or come with the Visualize installer. To add something from the library to the project, simply drag it into the viewport. For even more options, I'll switch to the Cloud Library, where I gain access to everything stored in Visualize Cloud Library, powered by my SOLIDWORKS. Anything can be added to a project in the same way as from the local library, but items already in the local library will have a green check mark next to them. When something not in the local library is added to a project from the Cloud Library, a download bar will appear at the top, and once loaded, a green check mark will be added to it, and it can be used offline in future projects. Finally, the heads-up display at the bottom offers quick access to some settings information. In the middle is the resolution, representative of the current viewport size and aspect ratio chosen. Just below that is the polygon count, which represents how large the model is, and at the bottom is the focal length of the active camera. The render mode is displayed on the right and can be changed from the Options menu in the 3D Viewport tab, though I would recommend leaving it set to automatic. The left displays the passes and passes per second, which are directly related to the ray tracing modes of fast and accurate. Passes is simply how many passes have been performed, and will restart if any adjustments are made to the viewport or model. Passes per second is how many passes can be completed in a second, and is affected by resolution, model, and scene complexity, which render setting is active, and the computer's overall power. The interface of Visualize has plenty of options to explore that grant a huge amount of control over the final output. Now at least you should be armed with the knowledge of where options are and how to use them.